In the 11th century, the mighty Pala Empire began to fracture. A massive internal revolt, the Kaivarta Rebellion, shattered central authority, plunging Bengal into chaos. Into this power vacuum marched the Varmans. They were a militant Yadava clan from Simhapura, operating as mercenaries alongside an invading Kalachuri army. While the Palas struggled to maintain control in the north, the Varmans set their sights to the south. They targeted ancient Vanga, the heavily forested, river-dense delta region of southeastern Bengal. These were foreign opportunists. They exploited the collapse of the Pala state to establish a sovereign foothold in a land that was not their own. The first major Varman ruler, Jatavarman, seized this territory with overwhelming military force. He crushed the Kaivarta rebels in the east and rapidly subjugated the local chieftains across the surrounding regions of Anga and Vanga. But Jatavarman knew that conquest alone left him vulnerable. To secure his borders, he married Virasri, the daughter of the Kalachuri king. This strategic alliance locked in a powerful deterrent against neighboring threats. With the region subdued and flanks protected, the Varmans transitioned from wandering warlords to seated monarchs. They established their new capital in Vikramapura, ready to govern the land they'd just fought for. However, brute force and a marriage pact only secured the throne for the moment. The local, deeply diverse population saw the Varmans as foreign invaders. To hold the kingdom long-term, the Varmans had to convince the people they had an indisputable divine right to rule. The pressure to legitimize their rule became critical during the reign of Jatavarman's son, Harivarman. For nearly 50 years, he faced a massive existential threat. The Pala Empire had stabilized under King Ramapala, and they were marching to reclaim their lost territories in the east. Harivarman realized that fighting a resurgent empire would destroy his young dynasty. Instead of going to war, he executed a heavy diplomatic pivot. He offered Ramapala massive tributes of armored war elephants and chariots. This calculated appeasement worked. By buying off the Palas, Harivarman secured decades of peace. This gave the Varmans the exact breathing room they needed to solve their biggest internal vulnerability and engineer genuine cultural legitimacy from the ground up. That engineering project fell to Harivarman's brother, Samalavarman. He used the land of Bengal as a mechanism for change, aiming for a systematic shift in both the religion and economy of the Delta. This surviving copperplate is a permanent, legally binding contract for a royal land grant. The Varmans issued these plates to enact Brahmadeya, giving tax-free land to orthodox Vaidik Brahmanas, intentionally imported from northern India down into the Bengal Delta. These Brahmans functioned as agrarian managers, overseeing the clearing of forests and construction of irrigation canals for massive rice harvests. By organizing tribal labor and assigning specific social roles to the new workforce, they institutionalized the Varna system as the region's dominant social hierarchy. This academic text analyzing the minor ruling powers of Bengal points out that Brahmin grantees functioned as de facto administrative representatives. By delegating power this way, the Varmans extended their control deep into rural areas without a massive standing army. Here, we see the ruins of a massive Buddhist monastery. Under the previous Pala rulers, Buddhism thrived in this region, but these monasteries didn't engage in commercial farming. As the Brahmin-led agrarian economy exploded, Buddhist centers became economically isolated, eventually fading from the landscape. Through the tactical distribution of land, the Varmans achieved what swords could not. They converted an unstable, forested frontier into a highly productive, religiously orthodox state, one that finally viewed its rulers as legitimate, divinely sanctioned sovereigns. Yet this newfound stability could not mask their military decline. By the mid-12th century, under the final ruler, Bhatta, the dynasty's defensive edge had dulled. Sensing weakness, a rising warlord named Vijayasena swept out of western Bengal. His forces overwhelmed Vikramapura, shattering the Varman kingdom in a sudden, bloody conquest. The Varmans had ruled independently for only about 70 years. But there is a deep historical irony to their defeat. The incoming Sena dynasty did not destroy the society the Varmans had built. Instead, they entirely adopted and expanded the orthodox Brahmanical system. The intricate stone spires that began to define the regional skyline stood as physical proof of the shift toward Hindu orthodoxy. The Varmans had planted the seeds for a religious transition that outlasted their own administration. The Varmans arrived as illegitimate outsiders and were eventually destroyed by a greater power, but the agrarian, Brahmanical structure they built became the foundation for every dynasty that followed. Their strategic use of the soil left Bengal a changed society, with cultural echoes that remain unbroken today.